Welcome, everybody. Looks like we are, let's see, people are flowing in now. So we are going to give this just 1 to 2 minutes. Make sure that we have everyone online that is wanting to come. Hopefully, all of you received our email. The email has a accompanying Word document PDF that kind of goes through the flow of what we're going to talk about during this presentation. It has information about us, links to um, important softwares and things that we think are worthwhile to look at. So it is a worthwhile piece to have open so that you can follow along. It's also something that you can reference after we're done with this webinar so that you can remember, oh yeah, that software AirDNA, that was the one that I wanted to look up. So we're really excited to have you all here. My name is Jake Cohen. My partner on the line with me is Eric Mayhews. We own a company called Master Vacation Rentals. What we specialize in is helping folks kind of hit the easy button on getting started with Airbnb. So I know that there are some familiar faces here that have been with us on our previous webinars and some new folks. So we're excited to have you all with us. Just so you know, we're starting basically a new series of these webinars. So we ran through 6 webinars previously. This is somewhat of a repeat of those webinars. It's going to be a little bit different, a little more polished, and but a lot of the information is going to be similar. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. If you're seeing stuff that you feel like you've seen before, it's because we are doing something similar to what we have done in the past. What we're trying to do is make sure that all the folks that may have missed some of these key important webinars are able to now watch them. So we're excited to have you, and we'll go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in either the Q&A slot. That would be our preference. If there's any technical issues or anything going on, please throw that in the chat panel so that we can address them. This is open to you. We'd love to answer your questions as we go along, so just type them in as you go. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Jake Cohen. My partner's name is Eric Mayhews. Our company is called Master Vacation Rentals. Why should you listen to us? We have been in the Airbnb space for a number of years now. I currently own, I own 8 listings on Airbnb and VRBO, and we manage 3 others for other folks. This is just our landing page here on Airbnb. We are super hosts. We have a 5.0 average, 395 reviews. The only reason I'm showing this to you is so that you can see that there is some reason why we're teaching this class. Eric has a background in commercial real estate, and he worked for a national vacation rental management company, very familiar with how to get into the market, what people need to do to get themselves started, and the best ways to get started on the right foot. He's currently looking for a property in the area to start Airbnb-ing. Master Vacation Rentals, we started basically to try and help folks that are getting ready to start their own Airbnb. When we started, we felt like there wasn't a lot of resources out there on various products, services, and those sorts of things that would make it easier for us to get up and running. It took me weeks and weeks to order just essential kitchen products, for example. So what we've done is tried to bundle some of those products into appropriate categories, so that if you're looking for, oh, I need all the appliances for my kitchen, bam, small kitchen appliances. Oh, I need all the plates, glasswares, etc. these are all the things that we use in our own properties. We are an affiliate of Amazon, so we may get a small kickback from Amazon if you purchase one of these products. But really, we're just trying to make this easier for everyone to get started. We also have a recommended services tab. This is where we have all the softwares and things that we recommend. We're not going to spend too much time on this. Our website is mastervacationrentals.com. Highly recommend you take a look at it if you have a chance. We are also on Facebook, facebook.com/mastervacationrentals. We've gotten some great reviews from you all, and we really appreciate that. We try and post pertinent information about Airbnb and cool things going on. So check us out there on Facebook. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. So Eric, why don't you get us going with how to choose an area to purchase your first Airbnb?
Absolutely, Jake. Thank you so much for the introduction and welcome everyone. So starting out, determining where you want to buy a property. Choosing an area that you live in or somewhere that you're familiar with is really a great place to start. That's going to help you understand the demographic of travelers coming to your area and help you buy a more effective property. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a resort town or up in the mountains. There's really demand all over the place, even in urban areas. So, for example, take a look here at Loveland, Colorado, just north of Denver, up between Fort Collins. You take a look at the fact there's over 110 places to stay in and around Loveland, and this is a really suburban area and something that people might not think of as having much short-term demand, but it really is a lot more prevalent than you might think. Good place to start as well is determining what the regulations are for your area. So a lot of cities and counties will have short-term rental site like Denver does here, information on licensing, what the requirements are for getting one, and if people won't need to file any complaints, that's going to be through the city or county. So if you don't find that information this easily, it's worth a call to both the city and county. And if there are regulations in place, ask for where it's written in the city code so you can understand all the components and make sure that you're in compliance. Cities are getting a lot more aggressive on cracking down on violators.
Yeah, and on that note, I know some people may be scared off from using Airbnb or VRBO in an area like Denver, for example, because they see a headline that says, someone received a felony conviction for renting their property on Airbnb. I just want to make clear to everybody, if you follow the regulations and you do things the right way, you're not going to be in any trouble. The people who get these citations and these violations, they've been warned 4 or 5 times. They've received letters. They've met with people, and they still are not coming into compliance. So don't be worried about it just if you're doing things the right way. I know a lot of people I talk to, they see these headlines in the news and they think that everyone who's renting on Airbnb in Denver is could get a felony or something like that. That's not the case. So just wanted to clear the air a little bit.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jake. And it really comes down to just doing your due diligence and understanding, what the rules are, so you make sure to follow them. Same thing with either a homeowners association or neighborhood covenants. Sometimes those can be a little buried. My HOA has like a 50-page document that lays out the rules and bylaws, and it's a little bit tricky to find. So just make sure you're reading all that documentation and understanding what's in place with the property you're getting into.
What page is that on that tells about that, Eric?
I want to say it's like page 35
right.
of the bylaws. So it's in there deep. So take your time and really go through all that documentation with a fine-tooth comb, because that would be an unfortunate thing to figure out after the fact. So Another piece that's going to help you in this puzzle is choosing a real estate agent that's either familiar with short-term rentals or at least investment properties. They're going to be able to help you run the numbers, and most likely going to have some management contacts to help you either manage the property or give you some more detailed market insight. That's going to be the best way to go if you can find someone with that knowledge. And another consideration is going to be the size of the property. So we're looking at 1-bedroom condo or a 5-bedroom home. You're going to have significantly more travelers going to a 1-bedroom property versus a 5-bedroom, but you're going to rent for significantly less dollars per night. So,
yep. So you
Jake,
can see,
you want to hop into that?
yeah, you can see on the screen here, the blue graph is a 1-bedroom property. This is for an area of Denver. You can see the address here, Bryant Street Market Report. So this is in the Sunnyside neighborhood. But you can see that the blue on the graph is 1-bedroom listings, and the prices are on the bottom here. So 1-bedroom listings are renting between $39 and $190 a night, but you can see the majority are in the range of $60 to $90 a night. And then you can see the 2-bedroom properties are kind of in the middle. Those are the red portions of the graph. And then you can see the orange portion is our 3-bed plus properties. So you can see that they're obviously on the higher end for the average daily rate. An important thing to note is 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom properties in most places will have a much higher occupancy rate than a 3-bedroom plus. The reason for that is it's going to appeal to a broader market at a lower price point. So realize that if you purchase a 6-bedroom property, you may not get any more revenue than you would get out of a 3-bedroom property or even a 2-bedroom property, depending on the area and the demand for those large types of properties. The one exception to something like this might be a place like Disney, for example, where people are traveling with families all the time, and a 1-bedroom maybe is not very popular because not as many singles or couples are headed to Disney. They're headed with their family, so they may all be looking for a 2, 3, 4, 7-bedroom house.
Awesome. Thanks, Jake. And in terms of financing for Airbnbs, the most common route is going to be traditional investment property financing, generally 25% down. Lenders are going to be looking at most likely what the long-term rental numbers are like on that property and determining whether you're able to qualify or not. And Jake has up here another option, Host Financial, that they're not necessarily going to have perhaps as competitive as rates as traditional financing, and there's going to be a few more stipulations there. But it is an arena that more lenders are starting to venture into with lending based on short-term rental income potential. And it's always important to have a contingency plan when you're looking at properties. So I'm going to pull up, transfer back to my page here for just a quick sec and take a look at a site that we like to use for long-term rental numbers called Rentometer. You can plug in a property address. So we've got one in Steamboat that we're going to chat about a little later. You plug in the number of bedrooms, and it'll give you some pretty solid information on what the long-term rental market is like, show you what the comps look like, and that'll help you understand that as a backup, if I need to go long-term rental, will this property still make sense to purchase, or are you going to be underwater if regulations or markets change? So I'm going to pass it back to Jake here to dive in a little bit more on some of the different rental strategies.
Yeah, so on the left side of the screen now, you're going to see how to use Airbnb to maximize returns. So this is just a little graph that I made up to kind of take a look at what might be the best situation for different types of properties in different areas that have different regulations. So on the left hand side, you're going to see short term is allowed. So rentals under 30 days are allowed in that area. On the right side, you're going to see short term not allowed. That's going to be the purple section. And so we're going to go through kind of some examples here of these different type of properties. So in the top left, an investment property. So this is something where you do not live on the property. This is one of my units up in Steamboat Springs. It's a nice 3-bed, 2-bath property. We're going to use this as a reference when we do our analysis later. But we renovated this property and turned out really nice. This is definitely going to be your best bang for your buck on a short-term rental website, is renting properties like this for less than 30 days. So you can see we have a really nice kitchen, a nice seating area. It has a deck with beautiful views, a fireplace, kind of all the cool amenities that you would want in Steamboat Springs. We call the style mountain modern is the way we like to describe what we've done with it. But it's a really nice property. Even has a place for your skis, and people really love it. Now, the other option would be, say you're in a place like Denver where they don't allow short-term rentals less than 30 days. This is my former primary residence in Denver, Colorado. I didn't want to deal with all the craziness of Denver regulations. This is not my primary residence anymore. So instead of trying to skirt around the system and be one of those people in the paper that's getting citations, I thought, what I'm going to do is just list this for 30 days or more. So you can see the listing here. The title is New 30-Day Plus Pet Friendly House with Yard. So I'm highlighting the really great things about the property, but I'm being very clear that I'm not renting for less than 30 days. So this is also a 3-bed, 2-bath property, has that nice backyard. You can see the layout here. We do have a garage as part of it. It's perfect for pets because we have that nice backyard there, laundry, garage, kind of anything someone would want who is staying for a longer period of time. This property really blew me away with how well it rented. We've been renting it since August, and we've been averaging about $3,800 a month for this. So realize if you are in the Denver area, there is a market for this. Don't too many people list their homes because I still want mine to do well also. But anyways, that's definitely the example there. There's also an option if you have an extra unit in your home. So say you have an additional dwelling unit, an ADU in your backyard, or maybe a basement apartment, something like that. It's not going to bring in quite as much money as a whole property, but it still could do really well. So here's one that we found in the Denver area. The cool thing about these is they do allow a lot of people to rent ADUs in the less than 30-day regulations in places like Denver, because you still are maintaining your primary residence on the property, but you have another unit that you can rent out and make really good money on. So, this is a cool property with views, a deck, backyard, hot tub, and just another example. So if you are in a place where you decide you don't want to rent this on a short-term basis, you could also rent this longer term to, say, a travel nurse or a corporate traveler who's in town for a period of time. Those folks are looking for these type of stays as well. As we continue down this list on the left-hand side, if you just have an extra room in your home, that's also a great option. Lots of people are just looking for a bedroom to stay in. Maybe you have an extra bed and a bathroom and you want to earn some money. Great way to go. The last option is renting your whole home while you go on vacation. This is something that is not everyone is comfortable with, but we did a really cool interview with one of our friends, and it's on our free training page of our website. If you scroll down to the bottom, it's this video here, renting your primary residence on Airbnb. This is our friend Alyssa, and she's been renting her primary residence for about 4 years now. And it allows them to not have to have a roommate anymore. They just rent the property when they go out of town, and they make as much money as they did from having a roommate all the time. So pretty cool option there. With that, Eric, I'm going to go ahead and send it back to you, and we'll take a look at how we come up with our numbers and how we do an analysis.
All right. Thank you, Jake. So hopping back over to Steamboat Springs. So a great place to start in running some initial numbers and understanding what's my occupancy going to look like, what's my ADR or average daily rate, what's that going to be. So AirDNA is a great resource. You can plug in an area, and obviously this is pulling from a big geographic area, but you can get a sense of what the average daily rate looks like, what the occupancy is, how the seasonality looks. For Steamboat, it's winter and summer are your strong seasons, with spring and fall being a little less traveled. So you can also purchase more in-depth data. It's $100 a month for the whole, I believe it's all Routt County, different neighborhoods in Denver, as low as $20 a month. So worth taking a look at as you're getting into a market to understand what's going on.
And I would recommend, if you're looking in a particular area, you don't have to subscribe to this for a year at a time or anything like that. This is something that I've used once or twice where I'm not as familiar with an area as I want to be. So I will purchase that, smallest geographical area that I can, for $20 or $30. I'll purchase it just for 1 month, and I'll get all the data that I need in that 1 month, and then I cancel my subscription, and you don't have to pay that over and over again unless you continue to look in that area and need that data.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point there, Jake. So this is a property that we're going to do a deep dive on the numbers on. So I wanted to, before I show you a little bit, just give you a sense of the property. So this is a duplex that sold in Steamboat about 4 months ago, 3-bed, 2-bath per side, and good looking bones, but definitely use a little TLC to get it up to the standards that we would like to have on short-term rental. And another tool with AirDNA, if you just go down to the Rentalizer tab, you can plug in a specific address, number of beds, number of baths, how many people it sleeps, and get some more detailed insight. So a couple notes here. This ADR does include cleaning fees, and since those are generally a pass-through expense that the renter pays for, then you pay to the cleaner, this number is a bit higher than what you're actually going to see coming in the door for you. So our number's a little bit lower on that. And then the occupancy rate at 39% is also lower than what we see because it's taking into account all properties for rent on Airbnb, not just the ones that are available for rent full time. So we see some higher occupancy numbers than that. So a few things to keep in mind, but again, that's a great tool as you're looking at a specific property. So next, what we like to do is dive in on Airbnb itself. And the move here is really to take a look at the area that you're interested in and see what is comparable. So we're looking at the part of Steamboat where this property is located, as you're coming into town, up on the right-hand side, and we are looking for entire properties that have 3 beds and 2 baths. So these are going to be really your competition. What do they look like? So a couple things to note here. It's important to look. So right now I have it plugged in for May. So May is shoulder season. So you're seeing rates of, $150 a night, $100 a night. So one place is still up at 400, but quite a bit lower rates than, for example, if you plug in a weekend coming up here in March for a little ski getaway, these numbers are going to go up significantly. So you're looking at, instead of $100 a night, you're seeing 275, 400, getting over 600. So you're seeing the seasonality and how that can affect your income. So it's important to look at these numbers on an annual basis versus month to month, because those numbers can swing quite a bit, and just being mindful of that and planning ahead is going to be really important. So
yeah, and a great way to look at that is log on, look at people's calendars during different seasons, look at their rates during different seasons. It's important to start to compile this data if you're interested in getting into this market. And luckily, there are services like AirDNA out there now where you can find that info without having to actually manually go through every listing on Airbnb. But at the end of the day, when you get down to it and you say, well, my listing is going to be substantially nicer than all the ones in the area, well, you don't really know that until you look at the photos, until you do your research and feel confident in what you're really going to have. So that's why we recommend also getting on Airbnb as opposed to just taking AirDNA's numbers and assuming that's 100% correct. I'm going to show you some numbers from my property, which is just down the street from that property that we're analyzing. And the occupancy rates that were listed on AirDNA were 39%. My occupancy rate for this unit is 59%. And that's actually even lower than it truly is, because this is a property that we rent as part of a larger unit as well. So we're going to actually use 62% as our total occupancy number. And this is a program called Smart B&B that I use. I think it's a great resource out there, great for automations. But they also have a really great metrics program, which is what they call this. So we're going to look at my ADR. My ADR that we're going to use here is that 284 a night. I think Eric actually has it plugged in at 283. But basically we're using numbers that are real as opposed to what we found on AirDNA, which were numbers that we're making guesses with. So while AirDNA is great, just realize it's not 100% true every time.
Awesome. Thanks for diving into that, Jake. So I'm going to pull up a tool that we've built to help analyze property you may be looking at. So this is something that, we found helpful in taking a look at some of our own properties here, and something that, we thought you might find useful. Again, it's, something that we built as a tool. It's not a guarantee of performance, and it's really just a starting point in an initial look at a property, but we wanted to put this out for everyone. It is available on our website. So taking a look at the first page here, you've got everything in yellow is an input. So you can plug in the mortgage rate, which is going to be higher than what you get on a personal residence since you're doing an investment loan. 25% down, as that's, again, the standard for an investment property. You can play with the ADR, which I did bump up to 284, and the occupancy, which we've got at 62%, as Jake just mentioned. So some fun numbers to play around with and kind of get a sense of what the property might be able to do. If you click over to the results tab, this will spit out down at the bottom, some potential returns on the property and giving you a couple different metrics here with the cash on cash return and then the cap rate, which is more of a metric used in the commercial real estate world, but it's a way to compare investment returns kind of apples to apples between properties. So if people are interested, I can dive more in on that, but getting a little into the weeds. So Jake, I guess anything else you wanted to touch on here?
Yeah, there's a couple things I'd like to point out. If you can just scroll up a little bit there, Eric.
Yep.
The first thing you'll notice on here is that we did put $100,000 in for rehab. And the reason we did that is we realized that property was not in the shape that we would want it to be to rent. So our idea is that we're going to turn this property into the same level of property that I showed you pictures of earlier, that we used the numbers on. That way we're comparing as much apples to apples as we can. And then obviously, besides that, you're seeing a rehab timeline of 3 months. If this is the first time you're doing a rehab and you're doing a $100,000 rehab, you're probably biting off a little more than you should for your first time, and realize that 3-month timeline is probably not going to be accurate. Might take you 6 months to get this done. So, make those adjustments, be conservative. We never want people to buy property because they think that everything's going to go perfectly. I have never had one single construction project go as planned. So, just be aware of that as you get into these rehab projects. And, even stuff that looks like it's in good shape, sometimes you get into the property and you realize, oh my gosh, I need to replace a bunch of electrical or a bunch of plumbing. And until you're in there using it, oftentimes you don't know those things. Always get a home inspection, always do your due diligence. The other big thing that you're going to notice here is there's no cleaning fees on here. And Eric touched on that earlier, that cleaning fees are a pass-through expense. It's something that we charge the guests for, and we just pay directly to our cleaners. So we just basically leave it out of our calculation for simplicity. It is totally fine to do it the other way and add it in as income and add it in as an expense as well. But that's how we did this. We also did these numbers with a 15% property management fee. Realize that is most likely someone acting as a co-host situation. They're probably not a full-blown property manager. Most full-blown property managers in the Airbnb, VRBO space are going to be more in the 25 to 35+%. So just a heads up on that. And if you have any questions on this or anything else, we'd love to dive into them. So feel free to ask away. While we're waiting for some questions to come in, I want to remind everyone, we do record these webinars. We post them on our website. It's on our free training page. So if you are wondering about something, or you're really raring to get go on things, we have recorded a number of other webinars, and there's a lot of material on there. So like I said, our free training page. So I'll go to the top there. You can see all of our past webinars here. And then we have a number of videos on specific topics as well, like that video from Alyssa with her interview on renting primary residence. And any questions out there? I feel like we always have at least one or two.
Lindy's asking about, how do you find property managers?
That's a great question, Lindy. It really depends on where you are and what your situation is. There's a lot of resources out there now. Obviously, you can start with the age-old Google and type in, Airbnb property management in Denver, Colorado, in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, in Kansas City, wherever you are, and you will start to see a number of them pop up. Um, I feel like another good way is to go on to Airbnb or VRBO and look through listings. If you find some listings that look really nice and you notice that many of them have the same property managers, um, then you can call that property management company and say, hey, I noticed you have great listings. I'd like to chat with you more about it. I have found personally that doing my own property management is extremely fulfilling. I have a cleaner and maintenance person in Steamboat. I live down in Denver. They take care of pretty much everything, while I'm not up there, but I manage all of the reservations as they come in. I take care of ordering supplies, contact contractors if maintenance needs to be done, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of options out there, a lot of resources. Looks like we're starting to get some questions coming in now. So
Yep.
Lars is asking, is there property management fees? Are the property management fees less for 30+ day rentals? To be honest, I don't think there are many property managers that are specializing in that field right now. I think most of them are still going to consider this an Airbnb type property. I think you could certainly try and convince them that there's going to be much less turnover and etc. So give me a break on your fees. But I haven't seen many people specifically advertising that at this time. What do we have next there, Eric?
All right. So Marina's asking about the calculator and if it's available on the website. It is, and we'll also send that out. We'll send a follow-up email to everyone who attended, and along with some useful links. And I'll make sure to include the calculator in that so you have it easily accessible for you.
It is also in that sheet that we sent out to you at the beginning of this webinar. So if you're looking for it right now, open that PDF document that we sent out at the beginning of the webinar, and you can definitely pop onto it right from there.
Awesome. And Jennifer is asking, if you have a home with good bones but needs a facelift, what are the biggest bang for your buck items to fix up first?
I think it's similar to everything that you see on HGTV, pretty much. Kitchens, bathrooms. If it's a situation where everything is in good shape, like it's working, but it just doesn't look as good, I think there's a lot of ways to spend minimal money and make a big difference in the look. One thing I've done in a number of properties is just add a second color to a lot of rooms. So what you do is you add a baseboard and paint it white. And so, for example, your walls are beige. You add a baseboard along the bottom, paint all your doors white, paint your baseboards white. Can often give a property a huge facelift. We just moved into a new primary residence in July, and we did that, and it was like night and day. The property was very dark when we bought it, and when we just added that white color to the doors and the baseboards, it really seems like it's now it's a mid-century modern, beautiful property, whereas before it was like a older mid-century home. I think there's a lot to be said though for switching out fixtures, replacing appliances. In kitchens, you can paint your cabinets a lot of the time to make them look a lot better. Same things with bathroom cabinets, but oftentimes just swapping out some fixtures like your electrical fixtures, your kitchen faucet, your bathroom faucets, your trim in your shower, that sort of thing. Ceiling fans. a lot of that stuff is stuff that you can do on your own, because you're basically unscrewing one item and screwing in another item. So you don't necessarily need a plumber or an electrician to do that. There's a lot more information that we could go into on renovations, and we are going to have an upcoming webinar that will go into more detail on that. So I'd love to have you on for that. What else do we got, Eric?
All right. Lars was asking, what exactly does a property manager do for an owner?
Sure. Well, a traditional property manager is going to handle all reservations, all advertising, all maintenance items, and coordination of the cleaning team. So they're basically a one-stop shop. They're going to take care of everything from start to finish, and make sure that your property is in good shape. In recent years, there has been something pop up called a co-host. This is very popular on Airbnb. A co-host is generally someone that handles all the communications between guests, and works kind of as a go-between between the property owner and guests. So we co-host a few properties, and what we do for those properties is we handle all the communication. We send emails to the cleaners to let them know when they need to clean. If there's any maintenance issues, we let the owner know, and they usually handle them. If there's not enough stock of particular items, we'll pass that on to the owner. So instead of being kind of 100% full service, a co-host is more of a remote worker that handles communications. If there's any further questions, shoot them out now. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and shut this down, and we look forward to having you all on another webinar. One thing that we would love to see all of you do is pop onto our Facebook page. There's a review tab there. We'd love a great review from you. Also, if you have any friends that are interested, we'd love to get more people on these so that we can spread the word further. Without further ado, I think I'm going to sign off. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.